Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today is another installment of the beginner fishing guide. I initially meant to actually do something a little bit different today and try get clips of how far I can cast the lure out and compare it to the other days, but I ended up snapping off. So today is going to be about leaders and terminal tackle. You can clearly see a very missing lure there in the middle and that's the one I lost. I lost a little metal. I was trying to get some mackerel. But today I show you how to tie an FG knot. Today I also show you how to tie the Palomar knot, which are basically the two main knots that you're going to need for spin fishing. Anything else, and I think you're overdoing it or reading into the forums a bit too much. Should be pretty clear and concise. I'm going to timestamp the video so you can skip to whatever you want if you're just in a pinch and you need to get the knots rolling. But I think I offer some pretty useful advice in between, all the little bits and pieces. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope it's informative for you. And please leave a like if you enjoy any of the content. Thank you very much, and let's begin the tutorial.
Right, so snapped off. Today I wanted to show you something different altogether. I wanted to show you how fishing in favourable wind conditions with the wind at your back, casting forward, would drastically change your casting distance. Tried to get a few clips of that, and then the unthinkable happens. Something which is going to happen to you, which in a way I'm actually glad has happened to me. I snapped off, right? So, just a total little snap off. You can see actually how my line was just sheared basically by itself, and that's because I was doing something a little bit silly, but I for some reason just haven't had this happen to me in so long that I forgot. I'm going to show you straight away actually how this happened to me so you can avoid it in the future. It's something quite simple really, something you might not think about. When you cast your rod is doing most of the work. If you are with your hands doing most of the work when you're casting, you are doing something completely wrong. Okay, so your rod is gonna be down like that, it's gonna swing back, and then it's gonna go back like this. And basically, if there's a big massive delay on the tip from when that line passes, and all the inertia and the momentum of the lure passes this, it's gonna hit this rod tip very, very hard and very sudden. And this is the point at which everything becomes very, very strained. This is obviously what's happened to me. I kind of forgot about this. I haven't had this happen to me in so long. I was fishing with lures that were too heavy. I was fishing with a 40-gram metal, and I had some mackerel feathers at the end. And what I was doing is I was just casting, and I kept feeling this jerk, this bruh, when I was casting. But I had my earphones in, you know, I didn't really think about it. And then I took them out just literally at the end, and I felt it go whoosh, pah, and it snapped off, and I saw my little sea bass lure and my mackerel things, feathers, all just fly right behind me, right into the sea. So today I'm going to try to show you very quickly, unlike all these other tutorials that are all inside and in a controlled environment and all this other stuff, I'm going to show you how to retie your leader and hopefully as soon as possible get you back into the water, get you back fishing, get you having a good day. Great stuff. Now, my line is now through my line guides. Everything's good. Everything seems to be okay. Just have a little check. Sometimes you can put it in and then wrap it around itself and pull it through. You are never going to get that out. You're going to have to pull it all the way through. So just make sure your line is going through your guides just in a straight line like that. So when you tighten it up and tense it up, it's not swinging about any of the other hoops or anything else like that. Now we're on to the second part. This is why I always advocate, if you can, whenever you're going out for your spin fishing, or any fishing really for that matter, but especially for this, highly recommend you bring small little low profile terminal tackle box. So you have all your little clips, all your little leaders and everything else just stored away in here. So when something nasty like this happens, you can just pull out one of your clips, close the thing over, and put it back in your container, and you're happy to go. So I use these. These are matte black and therefore don't shine off, don't show any reflection. They're just cheap on Fish Deal. I like the look of them, I like the feel, and they've been quite strong, so that's what I use. But also always bring a little leader. So remember to always bring some leader and your little terminal tackle. You can even put it doesn't have to be in some kind of fancy container. You can throw the leaders in the terminal tackle. You can probably put some all the tackle through there, chuck them through this thing, put a bit of tape on this end, tape it over. Whenever you need it, tape it off, and happy days. That way in a spool, you can just hold all the stuff all in one go. You don't have to go out and go crazy, have all the little pouches and everything else for all your stuff. I just like to, it's a hobby, so you put a bit of time into it. Okay. Now, like I said, you're always going to want a little leader. I, true to my word, use monofilament leader. This was actually recommended by Graham Pullen from Totally Awesome Fishing. I'm sure you guys have probably seen his channel, especially if you're watching mine. Graham, years ago, on a random video of his, I can't remember which now, recommended the Daiwa sensor, which is this monofilament. And he said that the lads found that it was very strong, but it did the job very well. And that's what all the big anglers were using, specifically in the color brown. So Graham, if you end up watching this one day, I took your advice. I went with the Daiwa sensor in brown, and it hasn't let me down. Right. So, before you clip the end off and choose how big you want the leader, you want to first tie the FG knot to the end of your line. I won't be able to speak for this next bit, so I might have to narrate it. But I'm going to try line it up in a way that's as easy as possible to see.
Right. So, in my opinion, many guys on YouTube kind of overcomplicate it. You want to just pull the line over once. You'll know you did it right because your line won't be escaping. If you pull it tight, you'll see that it's holding, right? Then pull it under, go to the other side on the other side of the index and pull it under again. And that's it. That's all there is to it. The reason people get this a little bit messed up is because they go under, over, jump it over, mess up the combination or the series that they're doing it in, if you can believe it. I did that when I started because the guides weren't totally clear, right? And you can see I'm kind of forming a cocoon on the monofilament line with my braid. And that's really the strength of this knot, is just the friction that it's going to have, especially on those first couple knots over on your monofilament line. There's a bit of debate as to use maybe between 10 to 16 coils, depending on how many coils you're going to be using. That's a little bit up in the air, a little bit finicky. All I can say is if you use a minimum of 8 to 10, especially on monofilament line that seems to be particularly thick. Obviously, I can't remember the exact thickness of this Daiwa sensor. If somebody zooms in, they could probably see it here on the top of my spool. But between 8 to 10, and you should be grand. You should be totally fine. As long as you can keep those knots pretty tight with your hand. This is why I do it like this with my thumb and my index. You can see here I'm just bunching the knots up a little bit so they're a little bit closer to the top. Bunch them up, but don't bunch them too much. Don't let them bundle over each other, because that's when you'll have a disaster. And now is the finalized bit. This is where you just finalize it and finish off the knot. People like to complicate this as well, believe it or not. People like to do, I don't know, triple knots and all the other stuff. But remember, when you're tying these knots then at the top of your FG, you're just thickening it. You're thickening out the knot for no reason. The thing that's actually holding your knot and your leader in place isn't actually the little knots you put at the end. It's all the little coils you did at the start. That's what's giving your knot the friction that it needs. So I'm just pulling it over and under, over and through the loop, just once. This is the most important one because as long as you can get this one tight, I think I'm trying to show it here, but the GoPro never really shows the focus that well. But as long as you can pull it just through the loop once, and there she is. I know it looks like it's twice there, but it actually just slips away from my hand because of the wind. And the whole reason I wanted to do this out here, not my sitting room or anywhere else, is because I wanted to show you. People say that, oh, you can't tie the FG knot outside. And in fairness, a lot of the lads that say that are some of the older lads, and you know that's fine. You know, if you need your reading glasses or whatever, different story. I'm not going to judge you for that. But the technicality of the knot itself isn't really as difficult or as technical as people like to put it. I remember before I started doing this knot, all the YouTube channel says the hardest knot, one of the hardest knots to tie in fishing, la 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 la. And as you can see, I've kind of just, even while trying to demonstrate it here, finished it very, very shortly, and I'll be ready to go back fishing very, very soon. Probably going to move on to the Palomar Knot, but I think I yap on for a bit here, so we'll be listening to that now.
The reason you want to have a decently long leader is because technically you could just do a nice little short one. I'm holding up my monofilament line here. I guess it's not very visible, but if I had a little lure that was just sitting right here and it got snagged up, right, you really don't want your line to be able to be tensioned, because you're going to be trying to pull that thing go. You're going to be tensioning your line against that rock or against that cliff or against that structure, and you want it to be long enough where it's not constantly tensioning itself here. So if your braid is going to snap almost straight away, if you're rubbing your braid off rock like this, you're going to do a lot of damage to it. If it's monofilament, you can get away with much more. So the further you can keep your braid away from anything that's going to shear it, damage it in any way, or just clean cut you off, the better, and the better of a time you're going to have fishing. So that's why I keep a nice decently long leader. I reckon, what, 1.5 meters, something like that. Rod's 9 foot, so it's just a little bit longer than the whole rod, my leader line. Okay, moving on to the second part now that our leader's all tied with the FG knot, as I've just shown there. Now we're just going to move on. I'll show you the super easy knot that you should all be using. Very, very strong and very, very simple to tie. It's called a Palomar knot. Okay, so here's my little clip. I'm going to try see if I can figure out another nifty way to show you guys this. Feed my monofilament line through the eye once, pull it out once enough, and then back through the same eye. So once in, once out. So now you just basically have this loop. You can see the tag ends over here. I'm holding the tag end there with this finger, and the loop is through here. Now it only gets easier from here, believe it or not. All you want to do is you want to bound your loop around the other loop to cross it here at this point, so you basically have a doubled over line, and you just tie the most basic knot you can imagine. You pull it through here and you tighten it while it's doubled over. Okay, nice and like that. Now my recommendation is don't tighten it at this point too hard, because if then you're going to have trouble with the next step. The next step is, now that you've got your line tied up and you basically just have a loop here in your other hand, you have the knot tied here in the center. What you are going to do is put whatever it is that you're holding, be it a lure, be it a clip, through your hoop. So I'll just do that one more time. I'll pull it over and through the hoop and just hold it back then, basically holding the line. So now all the bits of line, even your tag end which you're going to cut off, everything's facing away from the clip. Okay, this is where you want to wet it down. Wet it down, and this is where you cinch it. Just make sure you get that saliva on there, and when you're cinching it, pull your tag end for most of the way, so do most of the travel on the tag end, and then just a little bit extra on your main line. That way, if you don't wet it down properly, if you don't have enough saliva to stop the friction, the only bit that'll be curly and strange in form will be your tag end, which is coming off now anyway. So as you can see, you've got your Palomar knot, you've got your FG knot. Now all that's left clip your tag ends decently short I like to keep it just a little bit extra, even though I really don't need to be. But I like to keep a tiny bit, just in case. It's very unlikely that it'll happen, but just in case a slight knot slippage. Obviously, the amount that I'm saying that I'm leaving is about that much. I don't think that's even going to show up on the camera how much it is. It's very small. It's almost all the way flush, but I don't like to cut it all the way deep flush, just in case you get a small slippage in your line. Because remember, if this little piece of line that's sticking out here, I'll just have it under my nail there, if that piece of line manages to find itself way back into the knot, your whole operation's screwed. Everything's finished. So I always recommend leaving a tiny little piece, and that's it. And there we have it. Now, obviously, I did this in a demonstrational way, and therefore it took longer to do so throughout the whole operation. But now that you understand how it works and how to do it, you'll be able to tie your own knots and leaders, tie on your own terminal tackle, and effectively have nothing stop you from fishing. There we have the FG knot here in the right hand. Still need to clear off that little bit of tag line, and I have the completed Palomar knot that's holding my clip. And as far as I'm aware, these are the two knots that are closest to 100%. Knot strengths are kind of rated in like percentage of the main line strength, because obviously you're not getting the full, because it's a knot and it's obviously a failure point in the line. If you like to imagine it, it's not just one continuous line that's solid and is one thing, it has to be tied onto something. So obviously it's not going to be as strong as just your main line, but these are the two most efficient knots that you can get, that I know as far as in the market. I did a pretty extensive amount of research on this, watched a lot of YouTube channels. They're testing the knots for the knot strength, the torsion, everything else. These are the two that I found work the most, and I've never ever lost or snapped off on fish or anything else when I've actually had these. Obviously doing stupid stuff, overcasting big lures, not compensating for your rod bend. I wasn't even listening to my own tips. I was in my own world there for a little bit. But in general, these two knots, if you can tie them now, as you can because I've showed you this in this video, you should be sorted. There's a few more that I can show you, which I'm going to show in my beach fishing rigs video, which is coming up shortly enough. I suppose I'm spitting these out every couple of days. But in general, for all your fishing needs, the only ones you need are your FG knot and your Palomar that I've shown you. I hope I've done a good enough job to show everybody all the knots and how to do them and how to use them correctly.
So I just thought I'd cut it off there early and save you from all the waffle. Bit funny calling it early considering it's 18 minutes and 10 seconds in, but you know, could be worse. If you're a first timer on this channel, this is the first video you've seen. This is part of a larger beginner fishing series. Should probably have them on screen now. I don't know how to use this, so hopefully it's on screen now, God bless. But thank you very much for watching, thank you very much for listening, and thank you all for your kind and lovely comments on the last video. It's really what keeps me going. Obviously I don't make any money off this or anything like that, so the positive support is what keeps me going. Thank you all very much, and God bless and good luck. Bye bye. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Forgot about that one. Bye bye.